because it's an indictment on your person. It's as good as impeachment. Okay, until the House deems it fit to bring you back, you're as good as gone.
So the fact that the four of you were, according to you, purportedly suspended, now, what you did in suspending the Speaker, how does that work?
Is to now put the record straight on how proper suspension is done.
Yeah, but was that properly constituted before you took that?
In the course of a proceedings, the law recognizes that there can be need for a recess or an interruption, and that will now necessitate a regrouping or a reconvening of the same deliberation, the same plenary, same day. When the purported suspension led to rancor, those on the side of those who seem to support left the chambers without proper adjournment. And when that happened, Section 95 of the Constitution says the Speaker or his deputy, or the Speaker preside, in his absence the deputy. Subsection 2 says, in the absence of both, the members who have formed the quorum shall elect for themselves a Speaker pro tempore who shall preside over the proceedings.
Without adjournment, but the Speaker adjourned.
There was no adjournment.
Was it that there was no secondment?
There was no adjournment. There was no adjournment at all.
So they just all left the House?
They left. They left the chambers.
Oh,
they were still within the precinct.
Okay.
So we took over and called the House back to order.
Yeah, but what's the procedure for taking over?
Like I said, there will be a move on the floor, a motion.
Did that happen?
It did. That happened.
There
was a motion.
Okay. And you formed a quorum?
Yeah, we were 13 when we started. By the time we were rounding up, we were 14. The quorum is 9.
What is the leaning of this particular, I don't want to use the word faction, since you say that that would be divisive, and that right divisive. Now you're not exactly divided. It's a caucus. What is the leaning of the caucus you belong to?
The leaning is due process leaning. That's why we call ourselves the born again 13.
When did this leaning, I mean, we're assuming that this is a new administration, that, you know, the rancors of the past has been left behind. Is that what exactly has happened?
Exactly.
And that this is a new house, as it were, a new house of assembly. So how did this leaning come? I mean, come about? Were they born again from the beginning, or they became born again?
As events in the legislature unfold, that is what dictates your leaning. You might start as members of the same geopolitical zones or the same senatorial districts, but along the line you see yourself crisscrossing, because so many unfolding events will now determine quite a lot of things. It's not sacrosanct. And like I said, it is now, it behoves on the head of the legislature to ensure that he embraces all those people.
What is the ideology behind this particular group? I mean, what are they born again from?
Because we saw along the line that some things were shady. And in wanting to get the facts about those things that are not particularly clear to us, we began to compare notes. And as you compare notes and you move on, you discover that people of like mind are beginning to share the same position and what have you. There was really no agenda as to set the house on fire. But it is normal in any legislature. Horse trading is a normal thing.
Okay, we'll come back and wrap this up, but we'll take a look at the headlines, and then there was a truce. So, what must this other group do to be born again? Well, Charles Erica is here with the headline news. Charles.
Oh, thanks, Chamberlain. Here are the headlines. A federal lawmaker, Senator Ita Enang, has asked President Goodluck Jonathan to revoke and re-award oil blocks allocated in the country. While contributing to the ongoing debate on the petroleum industry bill, Senator Ita Enang said 80% of oil blocks have been allocated to northerners, contrary to the federal character principle. He made the remarks in response to criticisms by some northern lawmakers who strongly opposed the provision of the Host Community Development Fund in the petroleum industry bill. And in the classic case of the hunted turned prey, the Federal High Court in Abuja is reserving March the 21st for judgment on a motion on the infringement of fundamental human rights brought against the Senate President, the National Assembly, the Inspector General of Police, and 6 others by the embattled head of the Pensions Reforms Task Team, Mr. Abdul Rashid Maina. Mr. Maina is seeking 1.5 billion naira in compensation for psychological trauma and the embarrassment caused members of his family and himself by the warrant of arrest issued by the Inspector General. And in another court situation, the Federal High Court sitting in Lagos has confirmed the Independent National Electoral Commission's power to deregister political parties in the country. Justice Okon Abang delivered the judgment yesterday in a suit brought by the National Conscience Party challenging INEC's power to deregister political parties. The NCP specifically challenged the provisions of the Electoral Act 2010, which empower INEC to deregister political parties for failure to win presidential or governorship elections or a seat in the national or state houses of assembly. To the foreign scene now, the Philippines has demanded the immediate release of 21 of its nationals working as UN observers who have been kidnapped in Syria by rebels. The group is being held by armed fighters in the Golan Heights on the Syria-Israel border. The UN says they had been monitoring a ceasefire between Syria and Israel. And in Latin America, the body of Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez is lying in state at the Fuerteventura Military Academy in Caracas, where he studied as a young cadet. His family and close advisors, as well as the President of Argentina, Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner, that of Bolivia, Evo Morales, and the President of Uruguay, paid their respects next to his open casket on Wednesday. Mr. Chavez died aged 58 after suffering from cancer for nearly 2 years. His state funeral is due to take place tomorrow. And those were the headlines. Sunrise Daily continues.
Well, yes, indeed, and thank you very much, Charles. Well, for 2 days consecutively, we did actually try to get across to the presiding officer at the time, who happens to be the Deputy Speaker in Ogun State House of Assembly, but no response, either through proxies or direct messages. But at the moment, we still have Honorable Remmy Hassan, who is the, as a matter of fact, former Deputy Speaker of that same House and also the Chairman House Committee on Lands.
Honorable Hassan, what happened to the mace?
Yeah, that's part of what I call the consequence of the rancor on the floor. The mace somehow got broken because tempers were very high. Somehow it got broken. And
sorry,
what really happened
here? The mace is your seal,
the symbol of authority,
which can be considered a seal of the House of Assembly.
Is a symbol of authority.
So if you break your symbol of authority, do you have authority?
Let me tell you something. The use of mace in the legislature dates back to 13th century. Some of us took time to really study what it was. It was initially used as an armor, but with the coming of democracy, it became a symbol of authority. You will not find anywhere in our law where the requirement for mace to validate a sitting is stated. But it has been a convention that everybody is now practicing. When the legislature began in 2000, that is, this 7th legislature began in 2011, we had issues with the old mace. Which one was original, which one was fake, and what have you, to the point that we even destroyed the fake one on the floor of the House at the twilight of that tenure. And the two maces of the former legislature now became symbol of controversies rather than symbol of authority. So we opted for a new one in this particular dispensation. And by our resolution,